Welcome to WCS Money Tutorials. The Inflation Reduction Act has updated the residential energy tax credits for tax years 2023 to 2034. You can save up to $3,200 every year, while also greatly improving the efficiency of your home, providing greater comfort, and reducing indoor and outdoor air pollution. I know you were dying to know this, so here it is, the legal basis for these credits. To qualify for these credits, the residence must be located in the United States, but it can include many types of residences, such as a house, mobile home, condominium, or even a manufactured home. However, your tax basis in your residence must be reduced by the amount of the credit. Credits are non-refundable, meaning they are limited by your tax liability. However, these credits may be used to offset regular tax liability or the alternative minimum tax. These credits must be claimed in the year the property was installed, not when it was purchased. The credit is only available for new property, not used property, and the property must be reasonably expected to last at least 5 years. These credits have existed before, but they were soon going to expire. The credit for energy-efficient home improvements has increased from 10% to 30% and eliminates the $500 lifetime cap that applied to the previous credit. The residential clean energy credit was previously set to expire after 2023, but is now extended through 2034. The purchased property must satisfy certain energy efficiency requirements, which you can learn more about on this page at the IRS website. The link is provided in the description for this video. The IRS has also published this fact sheet on energy efficiency requirements. If a property is used partly for business, then the credit may be reduced. If business use percentage does not exceed 20%, then you may claim the full credit. If business use percentage exceeds 20%, then only a percentage of the credit proportional to the non-business use may be claimed. This means that if the business use percentage equals 100%, then no credit can be claimed. To claim these credits, you must fill out Form 5695. Note that this is for tax year 2022, so the form for 2023 and later will be slightly different, but this will give you a good idea of what it looks like. Subsidies from public utilities, rebates, and state energy incentives may lower these credits. Subsidies and rebates reduce the purchase price, so the reduced price must be used to calculate the credit. But the purchase price does not have to be reduced by state energy efficiency incentives unless they qualify as rebates under federal income tax law. The residential clean energy property credit can be claimed for qualifying expenditures incurred for either an existing home or a newly constructed home. There is no dollar limit for most property except for battery storage technology, which will be discussed later. Expenses include labor costs properly allocated to on-site preparation and assembly, or original installation of the property, and for piping or wiring to interconnect the property to the home. Property qualifying for this credit includes solar panels and solar water heaters. It also includes small wind energy property, geothermal heat pump property, fuel cells, and battery storage technology, with a capacity of at least 3 kilowatt hours. However, the credit for battery storage technology is limited to $500 for each 1/2 kilowatt of capacity, or $1,667 per 1/2 kilowatt, if the residence is occupied by 2 or more individuals. Furthermore, the home must be the taxpayer's primary residence. Unlike the residential clean energy credit, there are dollar limits for particular types of property and 2 overall aggregate limits for groups of property. Credits limited by tax liability cannot be carried forward. The energy efficient home improvement credit can be used for a primary residence and, for some credits, a secondary residence, but the home must be located in the United States. This credit only applies to existing homes or for an addition to or renovation of an existing home. It cannot be used for a newly constructed home. These are the ownership and principal residence rules for each type of improvement. Most of the credits apply only to a main residence owned by the taxpayer. However, the credits for the home energy audits and the residential energy property can be applied for a rented home. The residential energy property credit can also be applied to a secondary residence. To qualify for the credit, a home energy audit must be for the inspection of a dwelling located in the United States, owned or used by the taxpayer as a principal residence. The home energy auditor must provide a written report to the taxpayer identifying the most significant and cost-effective energy efficiency improvements, and the auditor must meet certification requirements. These are the individual credit limits for the particular items. The credit equals a lower of 30% of costs or any limits that apply. Most of the per-item limits are $600 per item. Exterior doors have a limit equal to the lower of $250 per door, or a total of $500. Home energy audits are limited to $150. However, the total credit for everything on the screen cannot exceed $1,200. The total credit for heat pump water heaters, heat pumps, biomass stoves, and boilers equals the lower of 30% of costs, including labor costs, or $2,000. These are the aggregate annual credit limits for the different types of property. Therefore, the maximum annual energy-efficient home improvement credit is $3,200. Now let's look at a few examples to see how the individual credit limits and aggregate limits apply to qualified expenses. You buy 2 exterior doors, some windows and skylights, and 1 central air conditioner for the prices shown. The total credits add up to $1,700. But the aggregate limit for this property is $1,200, so that is all you can claim. Let's change the example a little bit. Instead of buying a central air conditioner, you buy an electric heat pump for $5,000. Since the aggregate limit for the heat pump is $2,000, you can claim the full $1,500 credit for the heat pump for a total credit of $2,600. Let's change the example again. You buy a home energy audit for $600. 30% of $600 equals $180, but there is a limit of $150 for home energy audits, so your total is $1,250. But $1,250 exceeds the $1,200 aggregate limit for such expenses, so you are limited to claiming $1,200. Then you buy an electric heat pump for $8,000, 30% of which equals $2,400. Although there is no per item limit, the $2,000 aggregate limit applies to heat pumps, so your credit is limited to $2,000. So your total credit for the year equals $3,200. Thank you very much for your time. If you liked my video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe. I would appreciate any suggestions, so please leave them in the comments below. Check out my website at thismatter.com for more than 850 in-depth fundamental tutorials in personal finance, investments, and economics. Check out my books on money at williamspalding.com. Thank you.